So yesterday we were talking about this one. We did good programs yesterday. Today also we do good programs. Okay. So we did some programs on Armstrong palindrome. It's not just only programming what we learned yesterday. We had understood like how to use this PyCharm, right? And how to debug PyCharm and how to view that output while trying to debug PyCharm. So there is a lot of learning in the yesterday's session. Okay. So now what we do today, let's understand that. So today we try to implement, we start with one more beautiful topic. What is that? For loop. And after that, what we do, we try to work on nested loops. Okay. We try to work with nested loops so that you get a much more deeper understanding about looping. Okay. So what we do is, let me just open that topic. For topic, I think it should be here. Yeah, we did discuss till this yesterday. Okay. So nested loop, we have to discuss about nested loops and we may try few patterns. I will also share you assignments to work on patterns. You can work on those, all these kind of loops, okay, and nested loops and patterns, building patterns. That is going to help you to understand how to implement programming. So how to build logic. So that gives you a lot of experience towards logic building. Okay. So I'll discuss this, no doubt. But before that, first we'll jump to for today. What is this for? Let's understand this. Okay. So when we talk about for in Python, okay, it is not regular for like in Java, C or C++. This is something what we call special for. Of course, in Java, there is actually a special for. Okay, there are two fors in Java. One is regular for or traditional for, and the other one is a for that is applied on collections in Java. And here also we have a for which is exclusively applied on only for loops. Oh, sorry, only collections. Okay, this for is a special for. For in Python is a special for. I'll just write a statement here. Special for loop, which is applied on where this is applied. This is applied on collections. Otherwise, that other name for collections, we can use data structures like data structures. What data structures like you can say something like list, something like set, something like dict, something like string, all this slash dot dot dot. Anyhow, when we start discussing, you understand that clearly. But for now, we didn't discuss any collections as of now. We didn't implement anything like we didn't start discussing about list, set, or dict or string. But what we do for now to understand how far works all that, we just try to introduce something called range function. With that range function, we try to and discuss. We try to discuss for loop and we try to implement multiple use cases with for loop. Also, we'll try to implement use cases, multiple use cases, which gives you hands-on experience to work with for loop. I hope this is clear, friends. Right, this is the idea. Finally, you got right. What is this for? We don't have traditional for loop in Python like in C, C++ or Java. We have something called special for loop, which is usually applied on collections or data structures. You can see here something like list, set, dict, string, or some which is applied on group of values. That is generally a collection or a data structure. Okay, got it right. That is the idea, friends. Do you get this? Okay. Now let us start understanding. Let us start understanding for loop. And trust me, this is very important, friends, in Python. In most of the cases, you use for loop. You don't use while much. But for in majority of the cases, we keep on implementing this for, because I do a lot of automations in my project. Okay, I'm giving you a heads up, right? Generally, we play very much with list and dictionaries and strings to some level. Set we don't use much, okay, and other things we don't use much. Tuple also we don't use much. I don't say not completely, but in 90% cases, we focus more on using dictionaries and lists. Very rarely we might have a need to use tuples and strings. Usually, this string type of data we might use regularly. That is a different thing. Okay, this is fine. Now, shall we start understanding for loop here? Let's see this now. What is the syntax of for? First, let's get an idea of syntax of for here. So this is the syntax of for. What is that? For some dummy variable. We have to choose some dummy variable, dummy underscore variable. Okay. In collection. That collection can be anything. It can be a string, it can be a list, it can be a dictionary, it can be a set, it can be anything, friends. From dummy variable in collection colon. Here you have to add your statements by providing indentation. Right? We had discussed in Java. Sorry, we had discussed in our previous program, right? That Python uses indentation. So if you want to create a block under some construct, it might be for constructor, if constructor, while constructor. You have to provide a space with these statements into that particular constructor, right? To the right of that construct, we have to provide a tab space. We had discussed, maybe if not tab, at least you should provide one space to the right of that construct or into that construct. Okay, you put statements under this if. So this is the syntax here. I will show you. There is a lot of learning for us. What we do is I'll try to show you tracing and everything so that when we look at that program execution flow, you get a clear idea about what is that the execution flow of for loop, friends. Okay, this is the syntax. How this for loop works in Python? Simple, friends. This is a collection. Every time loop iterates, one value from collection is copied to this dummy variable. And then from this dummy variable, we get value from this dummy variable and do something internally and in that for block. You might print it, you might do some addition, or you might do some logic processing. You can do anything in that, but that is what we do here. Okay. And we try to get value from the dummy variable. Do you get it, friends? That is the idea. Okay. So now this is time to understand for loop with examples. Okay. Are you ready for that, friends? Let us try to get some detailed understanding how this for works in Python. Okay. So let's do that now. I'm recording, right? Let me check quickly. Yeah, recording is happening. Just a quick question. Are you clear till this, friends? Is this clear for you till this? Can you please answer in the chat box if you are able to understand this clearly or not? Okay, now, because we didn't start discussing collections or data structures, friends, what we do is to work with for loop. First, we try to use a simple collection, what we call range function. What is that? We use something called range function. But you got clarity, right? What is for? What is the syntax of for? What is the execution flow of for? These things are clear, right? Are you able to understand these things now? The syntax part and execution flow. Okay. execution. Yes, little typo is there. I'm just correcting. Okay. You are good with this, right? Syntax and execution flow. If you understand this, so what is the syntax? This is that execution flow. Every time loop iterates, one value from collection is copied to dummy variable, and then that value from dummy variable we use somewhere in this for block, maybe for printing, maybe for doing some logic implementation or anything we need to perform. Okay, that is the idea, friends. So now to work with for, first let's get introduced something called range here. Range is a simple Python collection which produces a range of values. What is this? I'll just type here. What is this? Range is a simple Python collection. What it does, it which produces range of values. Range of values. Now to work with for, at least we need to learn this range. At least we need to understand how range function works, and we apply this range function with for loop. You got it right. This is the idea, friends. Okay, friends. And actually, friends, this range function comes in three forms. Understanding this range function is very important for us before we start working with for loop. Okay, so what do we do? This comes in, range comes in, okay, three forms. Okay, we have three forms of range here. We'll take one by one. Style, or otherwise three styles. So first one, form one, or style one. Okay, style one or form one. Anything should be fine for us. Okay. Now, what is this form one? Here, simple range of some n, and this produces range of numbers up to n, up to n. For example, let us take example. You take a range of 10. Then what is this? What this does? This produces range of numbers. What range of numbers it produces? It produces range of numbers from 0 to 9. We have altogether 10 values here. We have altogether 10 values. So what, when I say just range of n, range of 10, range of 100, range of 1000, by default this range function starts providing values from 0. It starts with 0, ends with, if you provide n, your value ends with n minus 1. See here. We will just test it all this in our Python Python prompt or in our PyCharm. We test all this. Okay, but just giving you an idea before we go and test in our PyCharm or Python prompt. So this is the idea, style one, just range of n, which provides range of numbers up to n, excluding n. What it does, it will excluding n. Means what? It provides range of numbers from 0 to 9. Here you can see we get, if a range is n, we get numbers till n minus 1. Do you get this now? Let us see this with an example. Suppose you come to the PyCharm. Okay, you can use console here directly, right? To test small things, you don't need to use PyCharm. Okay, you can choose what is that. Where is it? This console terminal. We don't think we use terminal, not terminal. Okay, run debug Python console. See, this one we need. Okay, this still we need this prompt kind of thing. This now you see here something like a range of, you can test your values at the bottom. This is even hybrid mode. You have batch mode where we create programs in the form of a batch here, right? We can create all programs here. If you want to do quick testing, you can do in the Python console at the bottom of that PyCharm window. You can see here, this is Python console. Now range of 10, enter it. You can see when I just type range of 10 here, it is giving you the range starting from 0 to 10. Because it is showing 10 doesn't mean that you will get 10 here. You can iterate till 9 only, and 10 is excluded. This is not inclusive, this is exclusive. Okay. Maybe if you ask me, we'll do a small program and then you try to understand. We try to understand this range functions, different forms of range here. Okay. Now let us just do one thing. So this is while loop, right? Now under this project, create one more Python package. Name this as a for loop. That folder name you give it for, you give as for loop. All the programs which we implement with for loop, we keep all those programs under that for loop. Now enter. Now you can see this Python package for loop is created. Now again, what do we do? Right click on for loop and then say new and then say Python file and then say first one for demo underscore with what? With range function. See, this is how you have to provide names to your Python programs. When you look at your program, you should be able to easily recognize what you are doing with that program. Okay, I hope this is clear now. Now this is for here, for a demo with range. So you know the syntax now. So you can add a simple comment here. What is that? So I am doing printing numbers from 1 to 10. Here there is a lot of what is that things we are trying to understand. So we are trying to introduce many new things here. Okay, introduce many new things. Now let us see here. This is printing. What is that we are doing here? 1 to 10. What new things we are using? We are trying to use a for loop, and that too with for loop we are applying a range function. So this is one thing. Next one, we are using range of which form? Range of n form. So, and then what else we are trying to introduce? That's all, these two first. Now, what is the syntax of for here? So now we are trying to implement program for some I in range of some 10. This is the simple first program we are doing with for. We are passing a range in place of collection. You know, right? This is the syntax of for. You can see here. Okay. What is the syntax of for? This is the syntax for dummy variable in collection. So you see in PyCharm, in place of collection, I am passing range because this produces range of numbers, group of numbers to me so that I can iterate on this collection and then try to extract one value each time this for loop is iterated. I will debug and show you very clearly. You don't need to worry anything. Just focus. Just focus. This is the collection. Okay, this is one of the core collection in Python. And then this is the dummy variable. Instead of I, if you want, you can put J, you can have, if you put A or X or Y or anything, dummy variable thing, you can pass whatever you want here. Okay, it's not like it should be I always. This is just a dummy variable. You can pass anything here. Okay, and every time for iterates, one value from range is copied to this I. starting from 0. It iterates from 0 to 9. I'll show you that. Let me show you with a proper debugging so that you get a clear picture here. Okay. Now, for now, we just print I. Let's not do any logic processing. What do we do? Let's just print I. Just you take print of I here. Maybe if you want, you can add some beautiful text or some meaningful text to this. Okay, if you want, you can do that. I hope this is clear. Now, what do you do right now? We are using style one of range form, and let's print it. What happens? We'll see now. Let's see the print and see the output. Okay. So now run this. You can see it is producing values, numbers from 0, starting default. It starts with range function, starts with this kind of form, this range form. By default, it starts with 0, ends with the size -1. If size is 10, it ends with 9. You can see it's not printing 10 here. This discussion is done very clearly. What is that? I told you. What is that? N is exclusive. Excluding n means you can see it comes from 0 to 9 until n-1. So if you pass size as n, then this range function produces numbers starting from 0 to size -1 or n-1. It don't include n. N is excluded. That size is excluded. So if you look at the program here, you can clearly understand that from the output, you can see it started with 0 and with 9. I hope this is clear, my dear friends. Okay, so this is the idea. Printing numbers from 1 to 10. Put a debugger now. Then you get a clear idea, the execution flow of for loop. Okay, so now what do you do? Just put a debugger. This is very important, friends. Trust me. In Python, what is important? This is very important. This for loop is very important. We need to use it regularly in many of our applications. Okay, now let us debug this so that you get a clear idea how this for loop is executing internally. Okay, right click this and then say debug. You can see here debug is almost started. Yes, now it started. You can see we should see these blue lines in PyCharm. Then it means we just started debugging the code. Means this gives you an idea. Debugging execution flow started. Okay. Now you can see this loop iterates for 10 times. No doubt about that. How many times? 10 times. And this range by default implicitly internally produces range of values 0 to 9 until all those values are completely iterated from this collection. This for loop keeps on iterating. Means this for loop almost iterates for 10 times. Let me just show you one by one here. You can see here. First, it came to the for. Now, step over. We just need to execute line by line here. Okay, so step over. You can see I0. First time in the first iteration, it copied 0 from range and assigned to I here. So I is showing 0 here. You can see here. Now again, it prints that. After that, it comes into the block and print I. Make sure that you are following indentation. What are the statements you declare under for? All those statements should be indentated with the same space. Means we have to provide space towards right side. At least one space recommended is tab space. Okay, this is tab space. Now after that, execute. Step over. It printed I. You can see here, I forget to tell you yesterday, you can also observe this, all that variables that is getting created under this window. You can see here. This window has all some more useful information, but immediate these are all magic variables, what we call, whichever is having underscore on both sides. These variables are called magic variables. I'll talk more about it in the upcoming sessions. But remember, here you can see your I here. It is showing your I here. Can you see this now? I equal to 0. And there is internal implicitly a casting applied here. It is showing the data type as well. You can see I is an int here. Now I is 0. Again step over. Now I again got changed with 1 here. Now instead of 0, I is replaced with 1. Means what? Again it copied one value from range function. Instead of 0, this time it copied 1. Now again, what is that? Click on step over. Now it prints the another value. You can check in the console every time how this flow is happening here. In the console, you can see each time you print something that will be appearing here. Okay. So you can see that output here every time this print is printed. Okay. Or print is executed. Now step over. Now I got big and one. Now this time one value is copied from range. This is 2. Again, 2 is replaced. It prints that 2 here now. You can see 2 got printed. Again, control jump up to the fur. Again, what happens? See here, the flow. Now I is replaced with 3. And again, what? You can see it printed that 3 here. Okay. Again, control mode back to the jump back to the top of fur, and this time it copies 4 into the I. You can see that copying thing you can see here at the right side to the far here. Okay, and again it prints that 4. You can see here 4 is visible here in the out console window, and again I is replaced with 5 and printing, and that is printed. This continues till I becomes 9. Once I crosses 9, it stops iterating. We'll see that here. Just observe this flow here. See how these values of I is changing here. That gives you a clear idea. So how this for loop works here, every time loop iterates one value from this collection. This is even a collection or a data structure which produces range of numbers. Each time for iterates, one value from this range is copied to this dummy variable, and that is clearly visible in this output variable here. You can see here, right? So now you see here again I gets replaced with 6, and that will be printed after that. Again I is replaced with 7, and that will be printed. Again I is replaced with 8, I is replaced with 9, and then I is now finally almost the iteration of collection is completed, range collection is completed. So it will now come out of that loop. You see, once that is done after copying 9. So finally the all that values internally in the collection is exhausted, or all that values are iterating that values is completed. Then it will come out of that particular loop here, this for loop. The execution control comes out of that for loop, this for loop here. Okay. So I hope you should have a clear idea now. Now you should understand for loop, how for loop works, how this works on collections and the execution flow, what it does every time loop iterates, how it is copying a value from this collection to this dummy variable. All these things should be very clear from this discussion, where what we did almost for a simple program, we almost spent almost how much time? 30 minutes. But there is a lot of learning here. We understood how the syntax of our execution flow of our, and also we got introduced to range function, type 1 range function, how it works. Now, but this is maybe you can ask me a question. Manoram, suppose I want to set where I should start my loop, where I should start my range values, where I should end my range values. Okay, you want for range, you might ask a question. I want to set the starting point and I want to set ending point. In such cases, what is that I should do, Manora? If that is your question, you got it right. So let me just add that here. Okay. So what is that? So you have again style 2, not type 2 form. Okay, type 2, and then R form 2. Now, what is that? You want to set. So, if we want to set start and end points to range function, we use type 2 to range function. I put just brackets just to indicate this is a range method or a range function. So in that case, what is that? We have another syntax. What is that? Range of start, comma, end. So this is the another form, and this is type 2. So in this case, in the first case, you don't have a control. You just need to pass n, and it produces n numbers. Okay, if you pass 10, it produces range of 10 numbers. If you pass 20, it produces range of 20. If you pass 100, it produces range of 100. And by default, this range function always starts with 0. It provides values starting from 0 and ends with size -1. You don't have a control on this type 1 or style 1 of range function. It starts with 0, ends with the n-1. That's all. But in the second case, you have a control, sorry. You have a control. What is that control? You can choose where to start, right, and where to end. So this produces range of numbers on your choosing, right? So you have a choice here. You can make a choice where to start and where to end in choosing type 2 range function, right? For example, you see here. So you say something range of, suppose I want to print numbers from instead of just first n numbers. This gives you first n numbers. I want to choose numbers from some 100 to 200, right? Somewhere in the mid of this numbers. Then in that case, I can choose the start of range is 100 and the end of range is 201. Why 201? Why not 200? Again here, this it starts with whatever you are passing, whatever number you are passing here, but it ends with again this n-1. If this is n, it ends with n-1 or this n value is excluded. It takes up to 200 and this 201 is excluded. So this is starting range, this end range. This end range value is excluded. It takes before that till that before 201, which is 200. You got it right. If this is n, it takes up to n-1. And this end value is excluded. It is not included. Maybe you can just quickly test it now. But you got idea, right? If you want to control where to start and where to end in your range function, one thing you can do here is, what is that? You can choose type 2 form. So let us test it now. Go to the PyCharm. So I'm just sharing this code with you. Where is it? Chart. Okay, you can test this now for now. Let's apply. You can comment this if you want. We have already discussed this one, right? So you can put this in comments for now. So that won't get executed. Now, and this is which type of for function? This is type 1. Okay. Now we are trying to work with a for with the type 2 and that to printing what? Printing something like some 30 to 100 numbers. Okay. You can choose whatever you want, friends. Between a range of numbers, you can choose between a range of numbers. Then in such cases, you have to use type 2 range function. Type 1 just produces first n natural numbers, n-1 natural numbers otherwise. But type 2 produces what? You can choose here which range of values you want to print that. You can choose with type 2 range function. Okay. So now what do you do? How to create this for I in range of 30, you can start with 30 and you can put 101 here. If you want till 100, this end value pass it as 101 so that it try to iterate till 100. this 101 is excluded here. If this is n, it takes up to n minus 1. Okay. Now, what is that you should do? You don't need to do anything. Just print what? Print I. So when you print I, how many times this loop iterates? This iterates almost for 70 times from 30 to 100. And 101 is excluded. Again, remember this clearly, friends. Okay. Somebody is asking a question. Let me just see what is the question. Yeah, sure, sir. Sure. Good. Tested, right? Now run this now. Quickly run this. You got it, right? This is type 2, where you can choose your range, where to start and where to end. Okay. Now run this now. Right click and say run. You can see values starting from, you can see 30 and values ending with what? 100 here. Got it now? This is the idea, friends, for type 2. So here you are not just learning about for loop, you are also learning about range function. You got it right? It's not just about understanding for. We are also trying to understand how to get introduced to range and how to understand what is range function and what are different forms of range. Even we are just trying to understand that. Okay. Now this is type 2. Are you good with this? Can I get an S from all of you in the chat box? Is this clear for all of you? Please answer in the chat box. Are you good with this? About type 2. Okay, let's test with the type 3. So what is type 3 now? Now, so we are able to print numbers from start point and end point in only one direction, in only in incrementation, right? You can start with what 1 and print up to 10, or you can start with 20, print up to some 40 or some 100. So this is only in one direction, that too in incrementation direction. Suppose I want to print values in the backward direction, not in the forward direction, but in the backward direction. I want to print in whichever the direction I want to print, either forward direction or backward direction, either incrementation or decrementation. Then type 2 is not enough for us. This is not enough. What is that we need then? We need type 3. There is one more form. We have altogether 3 different forms for range. We understood first 2 forms, providing first 10 natural numbers here, that is for type 1. Second one, choosing a range of numbers with type 2. And third one, what is third one? Now these two are over. You can put them in comments. Okay. Third is you have a range function. Let me type here. Let me give a detailing here first. So next one, type 3 of range function or form 3. Okay, what do you do right now? Range of, you can put start. That start can be in forward direction or in backward direction. I'll show you, no problem. You can put and comma, and finally you can put a step. What is that? You can put this range has 3 parameters. The first range has only one parameter, just n numbers, producing n natural numbers. The second range has 2 parameters, where you start and where you end. The third range, third form has 3 parameters, where you start, where you end, and what is the step. Step says whether you are going in forward direction or in backward direction. Okay. So what step says here? That step says if we are printing, we are generating values in forward. I mean the positive natural numbers or negative or backward natural numbers, descending natural numbers or ascending natural numbers. We can generate natural numbers in 2 different ways, either in ascending form or in descending form. In which order you want to generate? If you want to generate natural numbers in both order, ascending order and descending order, then we have to choose step here. What is it? Step. Let me just give an example. Suppose I want to print numbers 1 to 10. Let us try these scenarios 1 to 10, 10 to 1, and printing evens. Okay, printing odd numbers. Both, uh, both what in ascending order, printing evens in ascending order. Okay, printing events in again second scenario. Let me show you this also. Printing events in descending, DSCNDING, descending order. Okay, similarly, same thing we can try for odd numbers as well because it is a small change, that's all, nothing big. We don't have something really big here. Okay, this is the idea. Let's first try to implement all this. By the time we implement all this, you get a clear picture, you get a perfect idea here. Okay, so are you ready for this now? So first, using type 3, let us try to print 1 to 10 numbers. Okay. By default, to print this ascending natural numbers, you can use either type 2 also. We can use which form? Type 2 form. Even type 1 also. But you can see, you cannot choose a range of numbers using type 1 and type 2. But to produce this ascending natural numbers, we can either choose type 1, type 2, type 3. But to produce descending natural numbers, we cannot use type 1 or type 2. Then we have only a choice, that is using type 3 range function. Okay, we'll see all this one by one here. Okay, let's understand this clearly one by one with the use cases for each of these examples. Okay, let us just use this. Now I am choosing, what is that, printing. So now printing numbers from 1 to 10. Now this is the syntax for I in range of, what is my range? So I can choose, I can 1 to 10, right? 1 comma 11 comma. By default, I can just use this type 2. But as we introduced one more thing here, step. So I'll just show you how to use this, how to apply step to this range function. Suppose you want to print natural numbers in ascending order. Then in this case, in this for loop iterates from 1 to 11, comma, you have to pass 1 here. The third parameter you should pass as 1. This means that this range function produces numbers from 1 to 10. Of course, 11 is excluded. Which is excluded? 11 is not inclusive. This end value is not included. It is excluded. And that too, if you say 1 means you are asking to increment numbers from 1 to 11, means 1 to 10, one by one in ascending order. Which order? In ascending order. Okay, so put a colon. Now you print I, and then you get this. You print I. So this time we are using type 3 range function, and you can see we have we are passing 3 parameters. The first one is start value, the second one is end value, and third one is step. If you see a positive step here, positive step means you are printing, you are iterating in ascending order. If you see a negative step value, then you are iterating in descending order. Okay, in the one is forward, the other one is backward direction. Means if you see a negative step, you are trying to print or iterate this loop in negative direction. We will see that with clear examples. Okay, this is the example. What is the example here? So if you want to print numbers in ascending order, so then what is the range function you have to create? This is the range function which has start as, this is the start, this is the end, and this is the step. If it is positive, you are trying to generate range of numbers in ascending order. Now you print that I and see the values. You can see all numbers starting from 1 to 10, sorry. 11 is excluded. I told you, right? 11 won't be included by your range. So it starts with n, ends with n minus 1. Okay. And you are trying to increment each time by how much? By 1. Suppose you got this right. Do you understand this first example? Suppose I'll just try to create one more example. See here. This time step is used. Step has a lot of importance in Python. That too when you are working with range function. So this simply what this is doing. This is as simple as type to range function, right? So there is nothing much difference between type 2 range and type 3 range functions. But now you see the difference now. In the second example, in second use case, which I am building now, this shows you a difference between type 2 range and type 3 range. Okay, anyhow, you can comment this for now. This is clearly done. Okay, now after that, this time I want to iterate this natural numbers from 1 to 11, but I'm changing my step to 2 here. When I change my step to 2, this generates odd numbers from 1 to 11. Means of course 11 is excluded, but every time loop iterates, this range values are incremented by 2. By how much? Incremented. If I said 2 here, that means each time loop iterates, we are asking range function to generate numbers from 1 to 11. Each time the value has to be incremented by 2 here. Means what is that range of numbers this range function produces this time? It produces 1. After that 3. After that this is the output we get: 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Of course, it won't take 11. Why? 11 is excluded. Are you good with this now? So you have a control. You can put a step. If it is 1, all these values are incremented by 1. If it is 2, this range of values are incremented by 2. If you put 3, this range of values are incremented. Means see, when you introduce step controls the execution, or step controls the generation of your natural numbers here. Now let's run this. And this time you can see here, as discussed, we have 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Now this is printing natural numbers in ascending order. Suppose I want this in descending order. So in such case, now again, what you can do is just copy this comment and put it inside comment. These are multi-line comments. You can see triple quotes. I am adding my all that code in triple quotes. If I put all that in triple quotes, this is nothing but what we are using multi-line comments. Instead of commenting one statement, we can comment a bunch of statements with this triple quotes. Okay. Now type 3. What is type 3? Printing range. So sorry, one more use case. How to print your numbers, natural numbers in descending order. So you can see now. Now I want to print a program printing 10 to 1. This is reverse order. I want to use range for that. Then for I in range of, if I should print 10 to 1, what is my start value? Start value should be 10 here, pass 10 here. Okay, comma. What is the end value? If you want to print till 1, then you should pass what? Should I pass 1 or 0? Should I pass 1 or 0? Can you answer in the chat box? Should I pass 1 or 0 here? Please answer in the chat box. Should I pass 1 or 0? Please answer in the chat box, friends. Yeah, that's superb. So you should pass here 0. Why? If you pass 1, it is excluded. It takes up to 2 only in the reverse order. So 10 comma 0 comma. What is the step I should pass this time? Should I pass a positive step or a negative step? If it is a reverse order or descending order, It should be what? It should be -1. What is it? It should be -1. It's not +1. See how much of control we have when we have this type 3 range function. We have a lot of control here. You can choose range of numbers in ascending order by incrementing by 1, by 2, by 3, or by any step you want. Second, similarly, we can also choose type 3 to print natural numbers in reverse or descending order. Again, you can choose it by decrementing by 1, by 2, by 3, in whichever order you want. See how simple this is? Now you have to put -1. Why? Because you are doing decrementation. When you do decrementation, when you don't pass negative step, it won't work. So you can pass a positive work, but still it won't work. Right? You can see it. Let me just print it. Right? Print of I. Then right click this and run this. You don't get anything. Why? Because you have to declare this properly. You are not declaring it properly. Why? You are decrementing values, then step should be a negative step, not a positive step. Okay, now what do you do? Right now run this. You can see this time we produced natural numbers in descending order. You can see here, friends. This is possible because of type 3 range function. If you this type 2 cannot do all this. Type 1 cannot do all this, but this is possible with type 3. In fact, among the three forms, the third form is the most powerful form, friends. Okay, but it's up to you which form you want to choose. Type 1, type 2, type 3. It's up to you which range form you want to use. But I try to discuss all the possible forms we have in Python, and it's up to you. In tomorrow, when you are working in some application, you can choose which one you want. Okay, are you good with this? All of you are fine with this, friends. This is the idea about what? About this printing elements in descending order. Suppose I want to print all even numbers in descending order. See, I put -2. My step, I just put it as -2, negative step. I passed negative step. That too, when I say -2, I am saying, I am asking range function to decrement each of my value by 2. Now 10, after 10 it gives 8. After 8, then 6. After 6, 4. After 4, 2. And finally, I don't think we get 0. Why? 0 is excluded. Now see the output here. See the output. You can see 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. And 0 is excluded. Are you following this, friends? This is the idea of what? This is the idea of for and different forms of range functions. What is the range one? What is the type 1 range function, type 2 range function, type 3 range function? How the behavior of each of these range functions is declared in detail here, is declared in detail. Okay, tomorrow we work on, at least we will work some, at least some 5 to 10 use cases using this for here. You got it right. Later, we will jump to the string topic and then data structures. That is going to help you understand so much of Python. Okay. So this is how you can use range function both in positive direction and negative direction. You can see here ascending order, descending order with the type 3 range function. Okay. I hope you understood this clearly. Still, I told you, right, as discussed every time, any problem, you can always contact me. I will explain in detail until you get a clear picture. Okay. Shall we stop here? Just time has fly like that today. Even every day it's happening. So what I do is I'll just stop recording first, and do we have a class tomorrow? Yeah, why don't we have a